Hello and welcome to Teacher Needs a Drink podcast. I am Elvis, your host, and I'm here to let you know that this is a not safe for work podcast. We are teachers at the end of the week, really the end of our ropes, and we'd like to be able to talk honestly and openly about education without having to worry about losing our job. So we'll be using pseudonyms throughout the podcast. I'd like to start by giving a shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. That's right, Teacher Needs a Drink podcast has a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can sign up and you can get access to all kinds of extra exclusive episodes. There's over 100 plus that you only get to hear for the Patreon. There's lost episodes, interviews. There's really so much in there. It's amazing. You really should go check it out. Also get access to our amazing Facebook group, and sometimes we do some special stuff. Just saying, you can hear live streams of the podcast while recording and chat with the host while recording. It's a pretty fun deal. I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors at Ludlam Dramatics, but before I do that, I'm going to thank all of my patrons. Here we go. A big thank you to Eccentric ESO Lady, Terry J, Justin M, Tracy B, Miss Wonderstats, Quentin P, Ekebex, Mistress Mischief, Natasha S, Miss Anthropy, Princess Buttercup, Dragon Lady, Kelsey, Helena C, Aaron B, Stephanie S, Maggie M, Texas Teacher Kristen, Miss Sunshine, James and Allie J, Jody D, Samantha D, Lisa C, Rachel, Jen Genie, Exhausted Band Director, Kimberly K, Jessica A, Swiffle Ev Owners, Amanda F, Ariana L, Physics Runner, Steph, Michael M, William P, Aldrich T, La Scorpionita, Britt M, Teresa H, Biker Teach, Marsha M, Christina B, Kristen B, Jason F, Abby B, Sarah B, Regina N, Josie S, Sam B, Mary E, Jamie B, Kristen W, Vanessa J, Mary C, RJR, Kristen C, Johanna H, Space Panties, Irma A, Nimi, and Sarah N. Big thank you to them. Also like to thank our sponsors at Ludlam Dramatics. If you are a theater teacher or you know one in your building, you should go to Ludlam Dramatics and get all kinds of accessible, amazing educational theater posters, theater resources. It's a great thing to go to. So Ludlam Dramatics. All right, folks. I've got a big conference this week. We're going to try to do some Patreon stuff while we're there. So I want you to listen to this episode. I've been going through some crap the last few weeks. I haven't had a death in the family or anything, just, personal struggles. And so I've been distracted while trying to teach and trying to do all the things. And so this was kind of my coping mechanism to talk to my fellow hosts about how do you cope when you're stressed out and it's hard to teach. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy it. Hope it helps some of you. Love you. Enjoy. Cheers.
Balls, 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 balls.
Well, welcome to Teacher Needs a Drink podcast. I am Elvis, your host, and with me today is a bunch of really, 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 really awesome people. With me today, as always, is we have Mr. Count Chocolate!
As long as there's chocolate, there will be happiness.
Hooray! And also with us today, Lady Shethead!
Yo, 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 so glad to be here. Happy New Year.
Also with us after a long absence, we have Miss Lucille Lane.
Hey.
Happy to have you back here. And always one of my good luck charms, my happy favorite person. Well, she's not always happy, but she is my favorite person. Miss Bunny O'Hare.
Hey, Elvis. Hey, folks.
Hey, well, I am so glad you guys are here. School is back. It hasn't been bad, I can say. I was mentally kind of prepared for going back to school for being a complete shit show and just being a huge mess and kids being nuts, just because it really felt to me that the weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which are always a little crazy, just were extra off the rails. And so I was really worried, but everyone seems to have chilled out. The teachers have calmed down. The kids right now are being pretty baseline. Are you guys having the same experience, Lucille, with your interactions with people going in and out of the schools? Are you feeling that things are settled down a little bit since the December madness, or what do you think?
For what I'm doing, there's just madness even going back in to start. It's just, scheduling or scheduling changes, or my tutors aren't going back in at the right time because of this happening and that happening. And so it's hard. Yeah. Getting started can be just as hard as just winding down. Got to keep that momentum.
That's true. That's really, really true. Count, what about you?
Back in my world, it has calmed down. Those first few days, we tidied up some schedules, made some changes to courses that students are going to need to graduate. And
Yeah.
now we are kind of taking our juniors and planning for what courses are going to look for next year. And in between doing that and meeting with parents, I am having a whole lot of, hey, you must do this to graduate conversations with our seniors. Because some of them, let's just say, did not take care of business first semester, which means we absolutely have to take care of business second semester and also add a little bit of extra business to handle in a timely manner if we want class of 2023 to be on their diploma. But it's slowed down. I'm already hitting the stride, which is significantly faster than usual, and we're rocking and rolling.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Bunny, what about you?
I'm not going to say that it was calm that first week back, but actually, knock on wood, today the kids were fairly chill. It was kind of nice. I will say that in terms of middle schoolers being middle schoolers and just I've been teaching for a hot minute and they still do things that surprise me sometimes. In the last 2 days, I have seen 2 different boys at 2 different tables in our very large cafeteria reach down and pick up noodles with their bare hands to eat like spaghetti. One of them was spaghetti and one of them was ramen. The kid with the spaghetti reached like he was going to put it in his pocket until I said something. And I just had like shades of Napoleon Dynamite and the tots.
Oh my God.
And then the other kid, like the girl sitting next to him was about to throw out her ramen and he was like, wait, I want some. And instead of taking the cup, he reached into the cup to grab the noodles, then realized it was hot and ended up dropping the noodles on the floor. He picked up the floor noodles, but I did not let him eat them. Apparently it was hot enough that he just was put off by it. By that point, he had, hurt his hand a little bit, reaching into the cup of ramen to grab a fistful of noodles. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to say things have been calm, but they've been okay.
Well, good. That sounds like a win.
No fights yet. We've made it 5 days into 2023 and no fights yet. So that's something.
That's great.
My week's been pretty good so far. Today, they were actually more talkative and a little bit more disruptive than they were even last week, but I kind of anticipated it. So we spent the entire day in all of my classes just reviewing the social contracts, letting all the new students know what the social contract was, making some revisions, and that took up most of the time. So they were talkative and a little disruptive, but the social contract part really was helping kind of curb anything major happening. But yeah, the kids have been fantastic so far this year. There's not been any big issues.
That's really, really good. Well, my friends, today we're going to talk about distracted teaching because it happens to all of us. And I've gone through heavy periods, and that's when you're forced to teach even though there are so many crazy circumstances going on outside, like completely unrelated to teaching, that your mind can barely focus. And there's so many things. I personally did this when I was going through my divorce. There's been a couple breakups where it's been the same thing, where I just had a really hard time focusing. And I know other people where they've had like someone in the family might be going to the doctor just then, or going to like so many things that could take over your mind, but you still have to keep teaching because that's what we do. And I was just curious, what are some of the times you've had to do this, or some strategies you've used to help cope while, navigating these choppy waters? Who has something to share? Who would like to go first?
So during my divorce, this was probably the most recent. This is the only one I can really relate to because it's very fresh.
Yeah.
Although there has been other times where I've had to push through. I know, there was relative of mine who I knew didn't have long to live or whatnot. And, those things weigh on your mind. But the freshest one for me is when I was going through my divorce last year around this time. I had just gotten my new job, and it was extremely hard not to get in my head about anything, thinking about little conversations or what things I should have done or should have said or crying. Meanwhile, you need to carry on with your day, and you have that's your income, and it's really hard to focus. Now, I think when I was having any type of issue like that, where my mind was completely overtaken by a situation that really distracts you from work, I think it was easier to handle when I was teaching inside the classroom because it was more of a distraction from my actual problem that I was not handling well. But when you're working from home, it's so much easier to get distracted.
I bet.
Yeah, it's just too easy. And but it's one of those things that you just have to push through. And if you keep that mindset of just keep on keeping on with work and trying the hardest, it actually helps you feel better. And you will kind of forget about it for a little bit. I find myself just getting lost in work and just forgetting that I even had a problem. It sucks when I remember, but I know that I can just forget for a while. So really, I think it's how we treat it too. If you have to treat it like this is actually the best thing for me at this moment.
Oh, I like that. Very good. Lady, what about you? Do you have anything to share?
Oh, yeah. It's very similar to Lucille's. I do think that sometimes when it's a trauma, our normal routines can help with coping, and it helps us get through. So I know that when I have lost family members in the middle of a school year, I've lost a student in the middle of the school year, you don't always want to be 100% honest with the students, depending on the situation and how much they need to know and how much that would actually traumatize them. But, it's okay to tell your students, I'm having a bad day, or I'm going through something really hard. And, I appreciate your support and, helping me get you through this lesson or this project. And they tend to really, that's when they really show their love, when they truly see that you're struggling. And there's a sense of normalcy that I have found some relief in. So the relief from grief back into normalcy with what I'm doing, keeping my focus on something productive. But, not all of our distractions are traumatizing. I know currently right now I'm in the middle of opening a brand new camp. And so contractors don't seem to realize that school has started and it's January. And they'll come in the middle of my class and start working on something, or they'll try to come ask me a question. And so for me, my distractions right now are dealing with all of those logistical things and opening a new campus, but also working for a new district while also learning about a new city that I live in and a new house that I'm new to. And so, and not having a working car because my car has been dead in the driveway for months.
Oh.
And so, it can get overwhelming, but then you find your passion with your students. I at least hope for everyone, that, working with the kids is what drives me to continue and keep moving forward.
I think that's great. And I'm so sorry you're going through all that. I didn't know about your car and some of the other stuff. Big hugs, lady. All the hugs.
Thanks.
Yeah. And Bunny?
I've kind of used a similar approach a few years ago when my grandfather passed away. I found out about it in the morning, as I was getting ready to go to school. It was kind of too late to call for a sub. And my thought was kind of, even if I do call in, I'll just sit at home and cry and be miserable and be by myself. I was not married at the time. My family members were not nearby enough that going over and staying, sitting with somebody was going to be an option. So I went on to work, and kind of what Lady was saying, I'm having a bad day. Like I told them, I didn't go into detail, but I was just like, we had a death in the family, and I'm pretty upset about it. So I am going to be straight with you. I am not on my A game today. And I would really take it as a solid if you guys could like be chill today and, kind of not give me a hard time, kind of play it cool, And they were really most of them were pretty great about it. Like when they realized it was something like legitimate, serious, they got real, as soon as somebody would start, a kid would start getting rowdy or something, they'd be like, shh, leave her alone. Be good. She's having a bad day. Be good. So, it's what Lady was saying about, like, you see those moments when they do care, like even the kids that sometimes will give you a hard time, like when they know that something serious is going down, sometimes they're the ones that, really try to police the others. Like, it's okay for them to give you a hard time, but nobody else better start on you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then also, like, if it's something where I know that a stressful thing is coming up or going to be happening, or that something's been going on for, something started the day before or a couple of days before and it's still ongoing. And like, if I know that stress is happening, I will rearrange my lesson plans sometimes to pick activities or units that I just like doing.
Yeah.
And admittedly not teaching a tested subject. I have a little more freedom, I know, than a lot of teachers on that. A lot of teachers don't really get that option. But I will rearrange and be like, you know what? I don't really feel like doing this worksheet today. We're going to play this game instead. And you do kind of, when the kids are enjoying it, and then when you're, neck deep in managing a classroom and managing an activity and peeling children off the walls and all that kind of stuff, it does kind of take your mind off of it. So I don't know if that's like a healthy coping mechanism, just ignoring the problem and carrying on about my business, but it gets me through the day.
There's nothing you can do. And a good distraction is better for your mental health than just walking through the mental mud over and over again and getting deeper and deeper in it. And so it's good to have a distraction, just get out a little bit to get you out. And if you find that in the kids, I think that's probably the healthiest way you could do your job. Is the way. Now, you might not be doing the most hardcore lesson, and it might be more silly or a little more fun, but you're still teaching and what you're supposed to do. And so why not at least enjoy it? I mean, there's so few perks in what we're doing. So if you can find joy in the kids. Now, I have been in the school where every single class I taught sucked fat balls and was just a big old slap in the face with the rock's cock. And I don't think I would have found joy in there. And that's where I'd probably need the mental health a little bit more, where I'd need the extra. I'm happy I'm in a good situation now. In fact, the only school that was at my student teaching school. Ooh, that was rough.
When I'm struggling, because I've had a lot of those periods recently. I set alarms to remind myself to do the things that I need to do to be okay. That my body is going to need, that I naturally don't instantly do. For example, a few weeks ago, I set a reminder on my phone that I would snooze it to every 10 minutes. That would pop up and say, breathe, you big bitch, breathe. So why? Because I know that when I'm stressed and I'm tensed and I was grieving, that I would sit there or I would stand in my office and just kind of be frozen and forget that if I take a deep breath and focus on what I'm looking at, I can get through the next 9 minutes and 59 seconds until the next reminder comes about. I, for my own personal, to relieve some of the tension in my body, I would walk around campus and eat my lunch if I could do that. Being in a state of grieving and sadness after loss, I know just sitting doesn't help. So I had the smallest little things in my office, trinkets that I could fidget with and play with. I had small exercise bands, so you'd see me kind of stretching, doing these weird windmills in my office if there's no one in there, or just sticking my head out and in the office, the layout of where I had, I would tell them like, hey, if you guys walk by, feel free to say something, whether it be as random as possible. Um, Let me know that you see me and that I can just respond to you and just say hi, and I'd appreciate it. So I learned that I could tell others that, hey, I'm struggling, but I'm still coming to work. But while I'm here, feel free to pop in for 12 seconds and distract me. Feel free
Yeah.
to, and so I think there was a lot of accountability, and others were really helpful in that sense too. And I was very intentional about um, deleting social media from my phone for a little bit because I can kind of take that down a weird rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Um, and that way, I'm also not distracting myself with. I mean, I could stay on social media all day, but if I'm in a rough place, I know that can take away from my actual productivity. So I would, tell myself or give myself a few weeks to kind of unplug for a few things or unplug from a few things and just focus on work because you'll still be a little heavy when you get home, but it's the work distraction is good when, life outside of work hands you some difficult situation that you're trying to manage.
No, that's true. I'm thinking back to when I went through my divorce, and I think had I not been able or had a really good excuse to leave the house, like to go to work, there would just been fighting in my life nonstop. And that's really, really toxic. You need an out. You need to get away. So I think work is good, but sometimes it's even hard to focus while you're there. You just kind of, your brain is thinking so hard it vibrates your body, but it is what it is. Well, guys, thank you for that. That was really nice. Does anyone have any more thoughts or anything they want to throw in before we move on?
Just that it's okay to ask for help. Like, you have coworkers, you have support staff on campus. If you don't have a therapist, it's okay to go to therapy, even if it's just being overwhelmed with work stuff. Like, I think there's a stigma about therapy that you have to have endured some kind of crazy trauma to have to do therapy, and that's not the case. It can literally just be somebody to talk to help you sort your thoughts and help you feel organized and less overwhelmed with coping skills and strategies. And so if people are, overwhelmed with work because of something going on outside of work, ask for help from someone. It's okay. You don't have to do it alone.
Amen to everything Lady just said. Asking for help. I know, at least for most of the teachers and most of the campuses I've ever worked on, if we know that one of our colleagues is having an honest to God, like family emergency, shit's going down kind of situation, like, even if I'm busy, I will do everything I can to help that person. Like, I think people are willing to help if they know. And so asking for help don't feel bad about it, because I think people want to help, want to feel useful, so that someone's going through some shit. So there's that. But then also, like, your mileage may vary as far as continuing to go into work and throwing yourself into work and things like that. If you need a minute, like if you need a day to just not be at school and to process your thoughts and maybe go talk to somebody or go like get your, handle business, that's okay too. You have days, you are allowed to use them, and they are there for exactly that reason of like when life happens. So just because this works for us, like, your mileage may vary. Listen to your gut. If everything in you is saying, I cannot walk into that building today, then you're allowed to honor that. You're allowed to do what you need to do to take care of your mental health.
Yes, Bunny. Amen. That was really, really well put. Hey, guys, guess what?
What you got for us?
Chicken butt. We have a podcast. We have a podcast. God damn it, I did it again. We have a Patreon.
Wow.
Yeah, we
So
do.
much better than a chicken
Heck
butt.
yes.
Yeah, that is a lot better than chicken butt. Yes, we have a Patreon. It's wonderful, and for little as $5 a month, you can join and sign up. There's over 100+ episodes of bonus content that have not been on the main feed. We have lost episodes. There's interviews with the host. There's movie reviews. There's all kinds of cool stuff, and we're adding a couple things every month to it. And you should sign up, and you should do it now. Woohoo! Yay!
Do it. Yes.
Woohoo.
Do it.
Yeah. Would you rather have penis feet or you're Jesus, but no one believes you? Who would like to go first? I feel like I'd be okay because if you're Jesus, isn't he pretty chill with stuff?
Yeah,
Isn't that pretty-
I'm gonna say I'm Jesus. I
Yeah,
am. I'm Jesus.
No, I'm Jesus.
No, I'm Jesus.
I'm Spartacus. Lady?
Who wants penis feet?
Yeah, really. You turn water to wine here.
Hey, think about stubbing your toe, but it's not your toe.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm totally Jesus. I feel like that anyway.
Okay.
Bunny, you got to just say that out loud. That's great.
I'm pretty sure the first time he was here, a bunch of people didn't believe him either. So
Facts.
So, Count, what are you going with? You taking the penis feet?
Okay, here's the thing. I gotta know this part. If I'm Jesus, I gotta go through the crucifixion and like.
Well, if no one believes you, are they going to crucify you?
Okay, fair point, fair question. I guess I'm Jesus.
I interpreted it as
there.
like second coming.
That's what I interpret.
Oh.
That's
If I
what
had
she
penis
said.
feet, I'd have a second coming.
Oh my gosh. No, you. Oh my gosh.
I started to say y'all sinners need Jesus, but you wouldn't believe him if he was here. It sounds like so.
All right, my friends, thanks for joining us for another episode of Teacher Needs a Drink podcast. I'd like to thank my lovely hosts who are here with me today. Big thank you to Miss Lady Shethead.
Of course, glad to be here as always.
Yay. And also, after her absence, I'm so glad you were back. Miss Lucille Lane, it was great to hear your voice.
I love to be here. Thank you.
It's been a minute. And also, Count Chocolate.
Chocolate, the poor man's shame. Thank you for having me.
And last but not least, my favorite, Miss Bunny O'Hare.
Thanks for having me back. It was a pleasure as always.
Well, guys, everyone out there, take care of yourselves. Remember, you can always ask for help, or you could just make a podcast talking about asking for help. Either one works. So, my friends, everyone out there, I love you. And deep breaths, deep drinks. Cheers! Woohoo! Yay!
Cheers!
Woohoo!
Cheers.
All right, folks, that's a night. Thank you guys so much. All right, folks, thanks for joining us for another episode of Teacher Needs a Drink podcast. Teacher Needs a Drink podcast is brought to you by the fine sponsors of our podcast, all of our patrons out there. So if you want to help support us, go sign up for our Patreon. Go to sign up at Patreon at Teacher Needs a Drink podcast, and for as little as $5, you get access to all the content. Also, if you want, leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. We'd use it on the podcast. We really would. Do it. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Ludlam Dramatics for all the help they give us and all the support they've given us throughout the last 3 years. So if you're a theater teacher or no one in your building, go to Ludlam Dramatics. All right, folks, I'm going to a teacher convention tomorrow, and I'm exhausted, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. But I love everyone out there. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.